Good morning and happy new year, everyone. I'm your host, joined by my co-host. Today marks the beginning of a fresh start, and we're excited to dive into the world of crypto news with a bang. We've got some fascinating stories lined up, including a deep dive into Wintermute's 2025 predictions and the crypto balls celebrating Trump's return to the White House.
That's right. We're kicking off the year with a report from Wintermute, which reviews a strong 2024 and sets the stage for some significant predictions in 2025. Their OTC trading volumes grew by an impressive 313% last year, which is no small feat.
Exactly. And according to Wintermute's report, institutions are still on the hunt for more sophisticated yield and risk management instruments. This isn't surprising given the growing interest in crypto from traditional finance. It's going to be exciting to see how crypto becomes more deeply integrated into traditional finance this year.
One of the most interesting predictions from Wintermute is that China, the UAE, and Europe may follow the US in creating a Bitcoin strategic reserve. This could be a game changer for the industry, especially if it means more governments are taking a serious look at the potential of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies.
And it's not just Wintermute that's optimistic about the future of crypto. The recent crypto ball, which celebrated Trump's return to the White House, was attended by some of the biggest names in the industry. Rapper Snoop Dogg even headlined the event.
That's right. The crypto ball was a lavish affair, and it's clear that the industry is feeling hopeful about the possibility of crypto-friendly policy in Washington. With Trump's inauguration just around the corner, it's going to be interesting to see how his administration approaches digital assets.
It's worth noting that the crypto ball represents a shift in the industry's attitude towards policy and regulation. We've seen a lot of uncertainty and volatility in the past year, but it seems like the industry is coming together to push for more favorable policies.
And that's not all. Wintermute's report also highlights the growing importance of stablecoins in the industry. We've seen some major deals in the stablecoin space recently, and it's likely that this trend will continue in 2025.
We'll be diving deeper into the world of stablecoins later in the episode, but for now, it's clear that they're going to play a major role in the industry's growth this year.
Absolutely. And as we look ahead to the rest of 2025, it's exciting to think about the possibilities that could emerge from a more crypto-friendly policy environment. We'll be keeping a close eye on developments in Washington and around the world, and we'll be bringing you all the latest news and analysis.
Thanks for tuning into our first episode of the year. We've got a lot more to cover, so stay tuned.
I think it's interesting to note that our previous discussion on institutional investment in crypto is actually playing out in the mining space. We've got some numbers coming in that publicly traded U.S. crypto miners have more than doubled their Bitcoin holdings in the past year.
That's right. They've collectively built up their holdings to almost 1,000,000 BTC, valued at around $8.6 billion. What's striking is that this growth is largely driven by pure play miners. They seem to be outperforming the rest of the pack.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Pure play miners are solely focused on mining, so they're able to optimize their operations and take advantage of economies of scale. It'll be interesting to see if this trend continues, especially given the current state of the market.
Speaking of which, the CoinDesk 20 index is trading higher from Thursday, up 1.1% to 3,949.35. We're seeing some strong performers in the mix, particularly Near Protocol, which gained 6.3%, and Litecoin, which is up 5.9%.
Those are some impressive gains. It's also worth noting that 16 out of the 20 assets in the index are trading higher. That's a pretty bullish signal. On the other hand, we've got some laggards like Stellar, which is down 3.4%. And Hedera Hashgraph, which is also in the red.
Yeah, it's clear that the market is still volatile, but overall, it seems like we're seeing a bit of a rebound. I think it's also worth mentioning that the growth in Bitcoin holdings among publicly traded miners could be a contributing factor to this uptick.
That's a good point. As these miners build up their holdings, it could be seen as a vote of confidence in the market. And if we see more institutional investment flowing in, that could help drive up prices even further.
Exactly. It's all about momentum. If we can sustain this growth, we might see even more investors jumping into the fray. Of course, there are always risks involved, but for now, it seems like the trend is pointing upwards.
Well, we'll continue to keep a close eye on the market and see how things play out. In the meantime, it's clear that publicly traded U.S. crypto miners are making some big bets on Bitcoin.
I wanted to follow up on our previous discussion about the increasing adoption of Bitcoin by governments and institutions. We mentioned how some states are exploring the idea of holding Bitcoin reserves. Now it seems like Wyoming and Massachusetts have joined the list of states considering this initiative.
That's right. According to recent reports, representatives from both states have submitted draft legislation to support the initiative. In Wyoming, a group of Republican legislators has proposed a bill that would allow the state treasurer to invest public funds in Bitcoin, but it's worth noting that this would be exclusive to Bitcoin and not other digital assets.
Building on what we discussed earlier, this move by Wyoming and Massachusetts is not entirely surprising. We've seen a growing trend of governments and institutions exploring the potential benefits of holding Bitcoin reserves, whether it's as a hedge against inflation or as a way to diversify their investment portfolios.
Exactly, and it's interesting to see how different states are approaching this idea. While some states are considering a more broad-based approach to investing in digital assets, Wyoming's proposed bill is specifically focused on Bitcoin. It will be interesting to see how this develops and whether other states follow suit.
Speaking of developments, let's take a look at the current market trends. Bitcoin has been on a rally lately with its price reaching new highs. We're seeing a price of over $102,000 right now, which is a significant increase from its previous levels.
That's right, and it's not just Bitcoin that's experiencing a surge. Other cryptocurrencies like XRP have also hit new all-time highs. XRP is currently trading at around $3.08, which is a significant increase from its previous levels.
It's also worth noting that we've seen some interesting news from the world of politics. Former President Donald Trump has announced that he plans to make cryptocurrency a priority in his 2024 presidential campaign. This could be a significant development for the cryptocurrency market, as it could potentially lead to greater mainstream adoption and recognition.
Absolutely. And it's not just Trump's announcement that's generating buzz. We're seeing a growing trend of politicians and policymakers taking a closer look at the potential benefits and risks of cryptocurrency. As we discussed earlier, this could lead to greater regulatory clarity and potentially even more widespread adoption.
Well, we'll continue to monitor these developments and bring you updates as more information becomes available. In the meantime, it's clear that the world of cryptocurrency is becoming increasingly complex and multifaceted. We'll do our best to break it down for you and provide analysis and insights to help you navigate this rapidly evolving landscape.
And as always, we want to hear from you. What do you think about the growing trend of governments and institutions holding Bitcoin reserves? Do you think this is a positive development for the cryptocurrency market, or are there potential risks and downsides to consider? Let us know in the comments, and we'll do our best to address your questions and concerns in future episodes.
We've been talking about the increasing scrutiny of NFT marketplaces and the potential for regulatory changes to impact the way these platforms operate. It's interesting to note that despite these challenges, many artists and musicians continue to experiment with NFTs as a way to connect with their fans.
That's right, and one example that caught our attention is the collaboration between David Lynch and the rock band Interpol. Did you know that they teamed up to create a series of unique NFT artworks?
I did hear about that. The project, called Lynch X Interpol, dropped 7 one-of-one NFT artworks on Super Rare as timed auctions. It's fascinating to see artists like Lynch, who is known for his surrealist style, exploring the possibilities of digital art.
Absolutely, and it's not just about creating digital art, it's also about the experience and the story behind each piece. The first NFT, I Touch a Red Button, is a great example of this. It's not just a visual artwork, but also an interactive experience that invites the viewer to engage with the piece.
Building on what we discussed earlier about the regulatory environment, it's worth noting that NFT marketplaces like Super Rare are also navigating these changes. As the SEC continues to scrutinize the crypto space, companies are having to adapt to new rules and guidelines.
Speaking of which, Digital Currency Group has agreed to settle SEC charges for $38 million. The company was accused of negligence and misleading investors over the health of its bankrupt Genesis Global Capital Lending unit.
That's a significant settlement, and it highlights the importance of transparency and compliance in the crypto space. It's also a reminder that regulatory bodies are taking a closer look at the activities of crypto firms and holding them accountable for their actions.
It's interesting to note that DCG neither admitted nor denied the allegations, but instead chose to settle the charges. This suggests that the company is taking a pragmatic approach to resolving the issue and moving forward.
As we continue to follow the developments in the crypto space, it's clear that regulatory clarity is becoming increasingly important. Companies like DCG are having to navigate complex regulatory environments, and it's likely that we'll see more settlements and agreements like this in the future.
And yet, despite these challenges, innovation and creativity continue to thrive in the crypto space. Projects like LynchX Interpol remind us that there's still so much potential for growth and experimentation in this industry.
As we wrap up today's show, I want to go back to our discussion on the crypto venture capital market. Galaxy Digital's report highlighted that despite the rally in digital assets, VC activity has remained subdued for the last 2 years. This trend seems counterintuitive, especially given the recent growth in the crypto space.
That's right. You'd expect to see more investment in early-stage projects, but instead, large investors are opting for spot Bitcoin ETFs to gain exposure to the crypto market. This shift in investment strategy could have significant implications for the industry as a whole.
It's also worth noting that the $3.5 billion invested by VC funds is a relatively small amount compared to the overall market capitalization of the crypto space. This lack of investment could hinder innovation and growth in the long run.
On the other hand, we have the concept of a Bitcoin supercycle, which could potentially reshape the economy. With governments and corporations planning to stockpile Bitcoin, we might see a surge in demand that drives further growth.
A supercycle is characterized by strong demand for goods and services, and in this case, Bitcoin is the asset in question. If we are indeed in the midst of a supercycle, it could lead to increased adoption and mainstream recognition of cryptocurrencies.
However, it's essential to remember that the crypto market is known for its volatility. We've seen significant price swings in the past, and it's impossible to predict with certainty what the future holds.
That being said, the potential for a supercycle is undoubtedly exciting. If institutional crypto adoption continues to grow, it could lead to increased investment in the space, which in turn could drive innovation and growth.
As we close out today's show, our key takeaways are that the crypto venture capital market remains challenging despite the rally in digital assets. However, the possibility of a Bitcoin supercycle could lead to increased adoption and growth in the space.
Looking ahead, we'll be keeping a close eye on the market and watching for any signs of increased investment or adoption. As always, it's essential to do your own research and stay informed about the latest developments in the crypto space.
And that's all for today's show. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you tomorrow.